This is Todd Toback, and you are going to love today's show because we have a investor who's been in the business just a couple of years. But what's so amazing about today's guest, Bobby Fogan, is he was a college kid. That's right, in college, and did his first deal pretty much in school. You're going to find out the details there, and has done since then with his partners around 120 deals. And this is pretty exciting. I wouldn't let him tell me too many of the details before the show because I got really curious, but I wanted to get the basics of it. But he's also in the Novation Bootcamp, a very solid individual, deal doer, and I know that you're going to get a ton from today. If you have not been to our website, though, head on over to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script. If you want a copy of the very same script that we've used to lock up over 1,400 deals in our real estate business. Also, if you want to catch up with me in a Facebook group that I spend a lot of time in, go to wholesalingincgroup.com and hit at Todd Toback there. And I'd love to hook up with you there if I'm in there. But I want to give a warm welcome to our guest today, Bobby. How's it going, my man, Bobby?
Going well. How are you?
Good. All right. So in 60 seconds or less, tell us your story. I mean, in college, doing your first deal. Let's hear it.
So I was a Division II college basketball player. I went away for 1 year, then moved back to my hometown to be here for school. I knew I wanted to start making some money. Didn't have a ton of free time. Wasn't really looking for a job, so I just started cruising through Zillow. This would have been 2020 probably. Just looking for property. Anyone that said they would finance it, I'd go meet with them. I just asked them, would they finance? Ended up finding someone that sold me a duplex, financed 100% of it, zero down. And that's how I started out investing. I ended up buying another house.
I'm going to stop you for a second, Bobby. So just everyone, I don't know where everyone is in their journey,
Sure.
But when you mean finance it, you mean, and again, that basically you go to the owner and say, hey, instead of me giving you cash for your house, you will basically be the bank, right? Instead of giving you a big chunk of cash, I'm going to give you monthly payments, just like you would on a car.
Yep.
Right. Is that what you mean?
So yeah, on this one, once I was already rented for $650 a month. My total payment to him was $550. I put about $3,000 in fixing up the other side and started cash flowing around $700-800 a month.
Okay. That's a good first deal.
Yeah, definitely. So at that point, I ended up buying another house, maybe 6 months down the road. Things were kind of, I could only afford so many rentals at a time then. I didn't really know what I was doing.
Right.
So I read about wholesaling, and I ended up getting a property under contract for $6,500. I was planning on just keeping it as a rental, and I met some guys that were doing wholesaling, and they said, well, if you just want to make some money now, just wholesale it. So I listed it on Facebook for $16,000. I had like 40 people show up to an open house. A guy I knew ended up offering me $11,500. I just sold it to him, made $5,000. Couldn't believe that in 1 hour you can make $5,000 not doing any work, which, I mean, it's just scraping the surface of it. And that's really what got me started in wholesaling. I just started going from there.
Okay, so you had a rental property. We're keeping a few. You got your first taste of wholesaling, a $5,000 assignment fee. So, what was that next step, right? Because you're like, okay, do I want to be a landlord? Do I want to wholesale? Kind of, what was your next step in that process, Bobby?
So yeah, I knew I wanted to do both. So my next thing, I started just trying to find as many deals as I could. Right. And if I could afford them, I'd keep them. If I couldn't, I'd move them. And at the time, I knew very little about marketing. Like I basically drove for dollars. I'd look up people's names, skip trace them, and just call them by hand. Over the rest of my college career, I know it was probably 2 more years. I ended with 6 rental units. And I think I did 4 or 5 wholesales. Some would be, I'd make it as low as $3,500. A couple of them I made closer to $7,000-8,000.
Right.
And was just doing it, completely part-time, playing basketball full-time, practice every day, and school as well.
So everybody listen to this, right? So, I don't know if you know anything about college athletics. I I swam in college. It's like a full-time. I mean, well, basically you're practicing like 3 hours a day, right? Or more, right? Between like walking there, walking back, trying to eat enough and sleep and get naps or weight training, whatever that is, maybe 4 hours a day, right? Plus you got school, right? You got every excuse to say, hey, I'm going to do this after I graduate. Because a lot of people that I listen to, this is like the most profound thing. Like, hey, I've got a job, right? Or I've got kids, or I've got to do this. Plus you got the fact that, when you're in college, like you don't even you're not even thinking about really anything else, right? What was driving you to do this? Right? I mean,
I guess it was just like, I can sit here and, play 2K tonight, or I can make a couple phone calls. And I'm like, it's either play video games or try to make some money. I was like, this is more fun anyways. I'd rather do this.
Right. So think about this, everyone. If you're like, I don't have time, and you're going home and you're watching Netflix. And by the way, I got nothing wrong with Netflix, by the way, but everything is a trade-off, right? There is a trade-off. And so you decide to trade Netflix or video games, right? Or whatever that was, for a couple hours a night, basically for wholesaling and real estate investing, right? Which I think actually is a very good trade. I think you chose wisely.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many hours of this. I'm going to sound really old, but we used to play NHL hockey. 94. By the way, I didn't go to college. I'm not that old, but we like the retro feel of it, but so I went to college in from 96 to 2000, but there was a lot of hours wasted, and I wish I would have put those into some wholesaling. So that's really, really, really cool.
Yeah.
All right. So now this is going a little different direction than I thought. So Bobby, what are your parents, were your parents involved, in this? Are they asking you what's going on? Do they think you're nuts? Are they supportive?
So my mom always tells the story about when I first came home with a rental property. And at the time I didn't have a job. I'd saved like $5,000 from a minimum wage job I had in college or in high school. And she was like, yeah, Bobby just walked home one day and said he was buying a duplex, and he had no job and $5,000. And so my dad had rental property. He helped me get started. Like, I had him come look at the property because I didn't know how to do repairs or anything like that. But they were both full-time school teachers, and they're not really into business like that.
Right. So that's interesting. So you bought it so that you had a little bit of the environment you were in, right?
Yeah.
Kind of planted that seed.
Right.
Right. So everyone, this is really, really important. So if anyone had an advantage, and this is actually a big advantage, right? If someone's saying, hey, I came from money, or I came from this, more of Bobby's advantage actually was the fact that he watched his parents, right? So he's acquiring real estate, and somehow that gave you that bug, right? Doesn't sound like he gave you any of the money.
Oh, no, they didn't give me any money.
Right. But he gave you that rubbed off on you. Right. And that's good. Right. You caught that from your mom and dad. So if you're like, hey, listen, my parents or my spouse are total like not into that, you've got to get around other people who are investing in real estate. Right. You've got to do that to believe it and to catch it. And it's a very good disease, right? You will never get rid of it. But it is very, very good. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that.
For sure.
So now you got this. So tell us a little bit about what the business looks like today. What kind of deals are you doing? What do you like most? What's profitable? What's your favorite marketing channel?
So yeah, I graduated about a year and 3 months ago. Went full time into real estate. Knew I wasn't interested in getting any kind of W-2. I started ramping up the marketing. In the first 2 or 3 months I was in this, I wasn't great at this, didn't know what I was doing. But I ended up joining up with the two people that got me started in wholesaling. In June, we did 13 wholesale or owner finance deals. And that was on top of us I kept 10 rental units, and I think the two of them kept 3 or 4. Our wholesale fees and everything came out to about 120 grand, 90 of which was profit. A lot of that came from driving for dollars. We just got real consistent on driving for dollars. Cash offer postcards, sending out mailers. We got a really good response from that. And then we started ramping up the cold calling. We just started setting, everyone had to cold call at least 5 hours a week, which, isn't a lot, but just making sure we did it every time.
Right.
Got on the triple line dialer, started using those. And now we're doing a lot of text blasting and cold calling. And the texts are working great. But yeah, really it's just really for us, it was getting consistent about, taking action every week.
Yeah. One of the things that I highly recommend is, I love sales, right? I love sales and I love conversion. I love shrinking that timeline, and being able to walk away from a deal and not be desperate for any deal. But part of that all goes back to lead generation, right? Because if you've got a lot of leads, right, it's a lot easier to walk away from an unmotivated seller, right? Or even if you want a deal, you can walk away from that. And so it sounds like you're generating a ton of leads every single week. Sounds like, number one, you're committed, right? You're really committed to lead generation. It also sounds like, I think, that you got one marketing channel up and running before moving on to the next. I don't want to put words in your mouth because I'm a big proponent, but is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and we're still working on getting, each one perfect before we try to add more and more and more. It's like, get one really good, which I like having a VA or a cold caller do that for you. And then I can use my time to try to learn a new avenue and implement that.
Right. What market are you in, by the way?
So most of what we have done is in Parkersburg, West Virginia. It's a town of about 40,000. Okay. We're starting to expand into bigger markets where obviously there's, bigger checks and more opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you got a lot of quote unquote disadvantages, what some people would say, but I think that's awesome. Number one is that you did this while you were in college. Number two is that you didn't have a big marketing budget. Three, I actually got your first rental property with little to no money down. You've done quite a few deals. You're in a quote unquote small market, right? Where a lot of people say you can't do deals. By the way, you can do a ton of deals in those markets. Do you have a big or favorite deal that you're working on right now, or that tell a story about your most favorite deal?
Yeah, so my favorite deal's got to be the first one. The first time I found out you could, sell a property, I spent less than a day having the contract and made $5,000. Yeah. That just opened my eyes to, a whole new world. Mm-hmm. Since then, I mean, probably our best deal. I'd been driving by this house every day for probably 2 years. Couldn't get a hold of the lady. Finally, I don't know if we sent her a mailer or something finally hit that she called in. We got an appointment, went and looked at the house, got it signed for $18,000. Listed it on Facebook the next day for 35 and had 5 full price offers and a bidding war on the front, on the front lawn.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Give me one tip. Someone's listening to this. They're trying to get started or take it to the next level. What is like the one thing that you say, hey, you know what? Like, this is what I've learned. If I had to, boil it down to one major piece of advice, what would it be, Bobby?
Yeah, get a scoreboard. Know your numbers. Know how many leads you're generating a week. Even if you're typing it on Excel to start out, just know how many offers you're making, know how many leads you're generating, and know where they're coming from.
I'm sure time in basketball had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
I'm being facetious, by the way. That's awesome. If you've been an athlete, there's definitely advantage of people who had the routine and structure. So that is just so awesome, Bobby. If you're if you want to get a hold of Bobby, maybe you want to do a joint venture deal with him or partner up, or maybe you want to join his team or just reach out to Bobby, where would they find you?
So you can find me on Instagram. Our company account is Appalachian Homes. Mine is just Bobby Foggin, all lowercase, one word. If you want to text me or call, 304-679-7527. Would love to talk or help any way I can.
So can you repeat that that Instagram account again?
Sure. It's Bobby Foggin. It's all lowercase, one word.
Okay. Sounds awesome. Bobby, it's a pleasure.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon, my man.
Yep. Bye.
All right. Remember, if you have not downloaded that script, go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script. And there you can get a copy of the very same script we used to lock up over 1,400 deals. And I will talk to you on the next episode. Talk to you soon.